Well, guys, once again, good evening. Welcome to the second part of tonight's session. And tonight we are going to begin our second unit of our cycle B1.2. The idea, of course, is to start working on the different aspects that the unit has. As you already saw, let me go back. We are going to start tonight, let's say, paying a little attention to this grammatical component that is past perfect. I think that you remember it from previous cycle when we were talking about the narrative tenses. I hope that let's say name rings a bell in your mind. But if you don't remember, don't worry, we're going to refresh our memory, of course. And also, let's say that in an ideal world, you would have already finished unit 5 in the virtual campus. I know, guys, that you are really busy. And of course, you have like different ways of, let's say, addressing that task. But the piece of advice that we would always give you guys is don't wait till the end of the cycle. Well, guys, as usual, before we begin, let me take attendance so we can have our official look to unit 6. Gerson Arismendi.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Okay. Heiner Baez.
I'm here, teacher.
Okay. Jean-Claude Barrera.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Yesid Calderon.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Natalia Camargo.
Present, teacher.
Okay. William Castrillon.
I'm here, teacher.
Okay. Andrés Camilo Correa.
Hi, teacher, present.
Okay. Andrés Corredor. Well, not here for the moment, maybe. Silvia Cuellar. Sorry.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Johan Duque.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Elkin Darío Fernández. Not yet. Oh, yes. Let me see. No, I think he's not here yet. Julián Jesús Figueroa.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Ginette Fontecha.
Teacher.
Okay. Carlos Andrés Galán.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Mabel Gamboa.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Cindy Juliana García.
Present, teacher.
Okay. José Alejandro Gómez.
Here, teacher.
Okay. Lizeth Carolina Tarazona.
Present, teacher.
Okay. And Brian Camilo Vargas.
Present, teacher.
Okay, very good. So for the moment, the ones that are not here are Andrés Corredor and Elkin Fernández. Okay.
Señora, ¿me llama? Disculpe.
I was taking attendance.
Sorry, teacher. I was in the kitchen.
Okay. Okay, Andrés. I'll make the adjustment immediately.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Let's start. I'm gonna share this first in a moment. Well, guys, as I was telling you tonight, well, on this second part of the session, we officially begin Unit 6. Let's have a look at the general aspects. Let's say that Unit 6 has to offer, and the title of this unit says True Stories. In this unit, in terms of grammar, we will have a look at components like past perfect and reported speech. I was telling you that maybe you remember a little bit past perfect from the previous cycle. This topic called narrative tenses. In terms of vocabulary, the differences between say and tell. Sorry, adverb for telling stories. Retell a story, that will be the task. And if time allows us, of course, when we finish Unit 6, we will talk about the word culture, a story that has rocked the world. I was telling you as well that we start having a look at very detailed aspect related to the grammatical part. Here it says working groups, but we are going to do it here all together. I have already, let's say, decided for another activity that will be actually done in groups by you guys. It says, think of examples of types of story below from books, films of real life, sorry. So, look at these different categories. We have crime stories, mysteries, science fiction, fantasy, human interests stories, romantic stories, ghost stories, biographies, anecdotes, adventure stories. I want you to think of names of, let's say, books, movies, or even like very particular events of real life, sorry, that are related to these categories that we have in here. I'm gonna give you 3 minutes, okay? And then I'm gonna, let's say, ask you guys to give me examples of these categories. Remember, could be movies, could be books, or maybe a particular event of real life. First, I will then, in a moment, of course, if there are any volunteers, you raise your hand and then you share the name of the books or stories, of course. And then I will ask also some of you. Just like to finish this instruction, the idea that or the name of the book or the or movie or the situation is in English, okay? If it doesn't have a name in English, then you would have to explain what the movie or book is about anyway, okay? Guys, did you have any questions about the instructions? Elkin, hi. No questions?
No, teacher.
No, teacher.
Okay, very good. Let's see, of course, you don't have to like give me a name for every single category. Then if you remember or you know like 3 or 4, that's fine, okay? It is not like you have to look for every single category because I'm giving you only 3 minutes like to brainstorm about it. I don't want to interrupt you anymore. 3 minutes is starting now. Let's see which names we can remember. for you to share your examples based on the different categories that we have in here. We were talking about, the different possibilities that you had was about names of movies, names of books, or even real life like stories, you know. So first of all, I would like to ask if we have any volunteers. Don't be shy. Okay, so I have to choose from you. Which examples do you remember, Mavely?
Teacher, the example is all categories?
No. The ones that you remember or the ones that you know. If you remember only two or if you know about only two, that's okay, don't worry.
Teacher, Puss in Boots, The Last Wish.
Okay. In which category we would put that movie? Mavely?
Adventure stories.
Okay. Well, and you know, actually we can't, let's say, assign only like one category for the movies. In some cases they are combined, right? Any other category that you remember, Mabel?
Sorry.
No, teacher.
Okay, that's fine. Let's see the two hands that we have in here. Andres Felipe Corredor. Oh, for the moment, only one hand. So
Okay,
Andres.
I can tell that Sherlock Holmes could be all the criminal stories, mysteries. Yes.
Crime,
Um, it's possible to say some city now.
Yeah, I think that works as well.
Okay. I like sweets, and it is more like I think it's like a real story, but with a little bit of fantasy.
Streets?
Yes, it's about lawyers.
Ah,
So,
suits.
suits.
Ah, okay. Yeah, it's a kind of combination, as we said with the
Yeah.
previous example. Okay.
And the other I like, I can remember, is ¿cuál era? Doctor House. That's
Okay.
also real and fantasy also.
Okay, that would be it. Thank you, Andres. Okay, we have a volunteer, Silvia Natalia. What about you?
Okay. I have everything, everywhere, all at once. Is a fantasy or science fiction, and Fran's diary. I think I don't know if if it's biography or or human interest story. I
I
don't
think we
know.
can combine them, Silvia.
Okay. And the last one, I have The Haunting of Hill House, and is ghost stories.
No.
Story.
Okay. Very good, Silvia. Thank you. What about Jessit?
I choose 3 meters above the sky. It's a romantic story. To Sherlock Holmes, film story and mysteries. Elysium and Avatar. I think that is science fiction and fantasy. Ghostbuster in ghost stories. Biography and Steve Jobs.
Biography.
Biography of Steve Jobs. It's a movie on book. And anecdotes. Yes, I think is The Boy Who Tamed the Wind.
Tamed.
Tamed the Wind.
Tamed.
Okay, teacher, that is all.
Okay, Jessit, thank you very much. Yeah, you include also the category of anecdotes. Well, we have these three, and then we move to the next part. Julian Jesus, what about you?
For me, Interstellar is a science fiction fantasy movie,
Mhm.
and Forrest Gump is a anecdotes movie,
Anecdotes.
anecdotes, and Stephen Hawking biographies.
Okay. Very good, Julian. Thank you very much. And Anna, we have two more. Gerson.
Okay, teacher, about me, I like read biographies, Elon Musk,
Biographies.
biographies, Elon Musk, because it's interesting because he is one of the most main influence of the world.
One of the most what? Sorry, Gerson.
One of the most influence.
Influence. Okay, no, there was a problem with the connection, Gerson. That
Sorry,
was the
teacher.
thing. Don't worry. What else?
And another book I classify in crime stories is the perfume book.
The perfume. Okay.
Perfume. Okay. He's about a guy's his obsession with
Obsessed.
obsessed. Thank you. With a red haired woman, and he killed her. Forget your hair.
Hair.
Mhm.
No, your hair. Yes, Gerson. Is it for getting your hair? No, getting hair. El de ella.
Okay, teacher. Okay.
Okay, guys, very good. Good examples, everybody has, of course, different opinions in these cases, but at the end of the day, one of the things that I'm sure that we can agree on is that in some cases, we can also combine the categories. In some cases, even these types of stories tend to be fictional, and in other cases, they are actually true, right? In other cases, they even can be both, combine fictionals and true events. I would like to ask Carlos Andres, from the categories that we had in here, which usually tend to be fictional, like only fictional events.
Yes, teacher, one moment. In these categories, which
are usually more like, let's say, based on fictional events.
fictional events?
Yeah, like.
Okay, in this case.
Yes.
What?
No, tell me.
Yes, in this case, the fictional event is about no real life, about the impossible action or results in the real life.
And from these categories in this box, Carlos, which are like related or connected to, for example, we can say that science fiction and fantasy, they are fictional, right?
Yes.
Any other from this box that are also considered fictional or only science fiction?
Stories?
Ghost stories. It
Ghost
is possible.
stories.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Any other that you consider that also has fictional events?
It's possible romantic stories.
Oh, okay. Yeah, in some cases they are way too idealistic. Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, Carlos, thank you. What about, and once again, of course, movies and books, usually they are not 100% true. In some cases, just like to catch the audience, there must be certain changes of the events that tend to be fictional. Cindy, Juliana, now the opposite question. From these categories that we have in here, which ones tend to be a little bit more true, like talking about actual real events from real life?
I think biographies,
Biographies.
biographies, and
Mhm.
maybe crime stories.
Crime stories. Okay. Mhm. Okay. That would be it for the moment. Very good, guys. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, because this is what you're going to do now. Here we have a text. The title of the text says Real Lives, a Twist of Fate. Guys, what would be the idea, or yeah, like the general intention of this expression? Not like the translation, but what it means, a twist of fate. How could we explain this expression without the translation? Because we can translate it. I'm sure that all of you guys agree on that. But how we could explain this expression, a twist of fate?
Como un giro argumental.
No, but don't tell me in Spanish. I was telling you that.
Is the moment when the history became interesting.
The moment when the story becomes interesting? Okay,
I-
could be. Let's see the chat. Sister of Destiny, sister? Sisters of Destiny?
I don't
Well,
know of destiny or por destino, destino of, I don't know.
yeah, we're just brainstorming from the title of the article. Yeah, but more like the expression in general, not only like related to the article in particular. Natalia says, change of life. Okay, very good. That's the idea when we're talking about that twist of fate, you know, like there is some change that was not expected. Something that happened like from one moment to the other and changed your life completely.
I'm wrong because I don't know what to say, how to say, confundí
Confused?
twist and I read twins.
Okay. I see your point, Sylvia.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we are already tired. That's the problem, Sylvia. Don't worry. Okay, very good. So, guys, you're going to read this article. I'm going to send you to breakout rooms. And your task is going to be, let's say, into two different aspects. First of all, just like to clarify, don't worry about the blank spaces that we have on the text. We will work on that part later. So the blank spaces are not, let's say, like a real problem to know what the text is about. Here we have some questions on our book, would be questions 2A and 2B. It says, look at the article above. What kind of a story is it? Remember that we have already, let's say, discussed a little bit different types of categories of stories. So when you read it as a group, you have to decide which category it belongs to. And then, of course, we're going to answer some questions from the article. Once again, and I insist a lot on this part, the fact that the article or that the story has these blank spaces doesn't really have an impact on the understanding of the story. So don't really worry about that part. Let's read the questions that we have in here. Elkin, could you read questions 1 and 2, please?
Okay. Read the article and answer the questions. Where did Tamara and Adriana first meet? All the questions or only 1 and 2?
Only 1 and 2.
Only 1 and 2. Okay. Tamara and Adriana was at
No, Elkin. Only read the questions.
Okay, this teacher, excuse me. We was the first meeting shocking. Shocking?
Shocking. That would be it. Jeanette, 3, 4, and 5.
Who first realized that they were sister and when? 4. Say 3 things that the girls had in common when they meet. And 5. What kind of relationship do they have now?
Very good. Guys, what is the idea of realize? Don't translate the word. What about realize? While I check the groups.
It's similar to notice.
Similar to notice. Actually, it is. That would be it. Okay. Sorry for the silence. I'm checking the group so we don't have like repeated names in different groups. Perfect. Okay. Well, besides realize that you have already, let's say, discovered the meaning. Any other word that you guys need to clarify? What could be a synonym for shocking?
Surprise. Or not.
Like surprising.
Surprise.
Surprising looks good. Excellent, guys. So remember that you're going to do two things. Answer the questions, which probably is the task that takes up a little bit of extra time, and also to decide which type of a story it is based on the categories that we have in here. And once again, don't worry about the spaces. It is, we will do this part with a listening exercise, actually, okay? Well, guys, I wanna send you to breakout rooms. In total, you're going to have 15 minutes. It looks like a good amount of time because most of you will be working in groups of 3 participants, but let's manage time as effective as possible. I already adjusted so you can share your screens. So you decide in each group which person is in charge of sharing the screen. Guys, any questions about the instructions?
Yes, teacher. Can you explain again? In groups, we
Yeah, I'm
resolve
gonna send.
the sentence to A.
Yeah, the idea that
What
you read
kind
the
of
article.
story is it?
Yeah. And this, the answer of this question is related here to the categories that we read, right?
Okay.
So after you read it, you decide if maybe it's romantic or crime or adventure. And then, well, to answer the 5 questions based on the text.
Okay, teacher.
Very good. Everybody has the book. Let's start. there are already 4 people, while in this group there is only 2 people. That is why I changed you. Ah, but you're in 5. You're gonna send me to room 5? No, but I already sent you, Natalia. ¿No te parece la invitación? That's weird. Well, guys, welcome back. I hope that in your groups you could manage the time properly in order to read the whole text. It looked like it was like a lot of information, but I'm sure that you noticed that it was quite an interesting story. Well, let's start. Remember that the first question that we had, guys, one thing, was question 2A. It was look at the article above. What kind of a story is it? From group number 1. In group number 1, we had Jean-Claude, Julian Jesus, and Mabeli. Julian Jesus, what type of a story is it? If we take as a point of reference these categories here from this box.
It's anecdotes. Anecdotes.
Would be anecdotes.
Anecdotes study.
Okay. Do you agree, guys? Group number 2 as well?
Yes, teacher.
Okay. Let's have a look at now the questions. Well, technically, it is supposed to be, well, as we already discussed, right? We can't just assume that stories have only one category, right? It is supposed to be human interest. But of course, they're talking about those anecdotes of their lives. So I actually agree with you as well, guys. Let's begin with the questions from part 2B. Number 1 was, where did Tamara and Adriana first meet? William. From group number 2.
Okay, teacher. But they met at McDonald's.
That would be it. Yeah, they met there. Absolutely. From group number 3, I would like to ask Jose. Question number 2. Why was their first meeting shocking? Jose Gomez. Is it here?
Teacher,
There you are.
we look at this at the same. As the same.
Could you repeat, Jose? Sorry.
They look as the same.
They looked alike.
Like the same.
Alike. No, I
Yes.
mean, they look as the same. The thing is that it was say, Jose, they looked at like the same. It
They
looks
look-
like.
They look the same. Like the
Okay,
same.
better.
Yes, yes.
But if you say like, we have to add more information. You can say they look the same. But if we say they look like the same, what? That's the problem with like. In this case, would be a
Okay,
little bit
teacher.
restrictive. And the other expression that I was telling you was they look alike. That would be also to make reference to the first answer that you gave, that they look the same. Good, Jose, thank you. Let's look at question number 3. I'm going to ask from group number 4, Johan Alberto, who first realized that they were sisters and when?
Could you repeat, please?
Yes, Johan, question number 3.
Okay, teacher. When we realized that they were sister and win, Justin the third first realized they were sister in Tamara's birthday party.
Very good. Realized, absolutely. Question number 4 from group number 5. I would like to ask Natalia. 3 things. Of course, they're talking about like a lot of aspects, right? But from all that list that we could find from the article, 3 things that they had in common when they met.
Okay. They the same Mexican mother.
The same what?
The Mexican mother, the same Mexican.
Okay. Yes.
They shared a birthday.
Okay.
They have the same manners.
Manners?
Mannerisms.
Mannerisms. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Same mannerisms. interest and the same talking. The same
okay.
talk.
Okay, like the same way of talking.
Yes.
Mhm. Good, Natalia. Excellent. Any other aspects that sorry, Natalia, I interrupted you. No, I'm going to ask another group, but I don't know if you have more information, Natalia. Okay. So from group number 6, Carlos, more aspects, I mean, different from the ones that Natalia already said. She was talking
Yes,
about
teacher.
the mannerisms and
They have the same age and love hip hop.
Sorry, Carlos.
They have the same
Height, okay.
height and love hip hop.
Very good. That is a good extra information. Nice. And question 5, group number 1, you repeat. In this case, I'm going to ask Mabeli. What kind of relationship do they have now?
The relationship is more like friends.
Absolutely. Very good. Well, guys, as I was telling you at the beginning, we had some blank spaces here on the story, right? And I was telling you that technically they didn't really have like an impact in terms of the whole meaning. That is why I noticed that you could answer all the 5 questions, even though we had these blank spaces. You already read the article in your groups. In this case, you're gonna do it individually here in the whole general call. And the idea that we're going to complete the story, you know, I'm sure that you already noticed how the events develop. So you can actually make sure to know in which parts of the story you put these 5 events that we have in here. But once again, let's read the events, only read them. We haven't placed them in the article yet to see what they are about. I would like to ask in the previous exercise, the last person that read, I guess it was Gina, if I'm not mistaken. That would be it. Gerson, please, from these statements, could you read A and B?
Yes, teacher. Tamara had already noticed that strangers on her university campus often smiled and said hello. B. Both of their adoptive fathers had died.
Thank you. Smiled here. Very good. Let's have a look at the other 3, C, D, and E. Kainer, please, could you read these statements?
C. They had grown up only 30 kilometers apart. D. Their mother had given them up for adoption when they were born. E. They had often had the same nightmare.
Very good. So once again, you guys are already familiar with the development of the events. Anyway, I'm gonna give you I'm gonna give you 5 minutes to place these statements that we had in here, these 5 statements, to place them in the corresponding blank space. So we can say that we officially complete the story. After the 5 minutes, then we're gonna listen and check to see if you place the story in the corresponding part. Okay? Guys, did you have any questions about the instructions?
No, teacher.
Okay, very good. Well, you guys have the book, so you don't really need me to display the reading and the statements at the same time. I'm going to display the statements, of course. Probably it gets easier for you to identify in which part of the text they belong to. 5 minutes starting now. Okay, guys, time's up. We're going to check and we will have like a final activity related to this part before we start talking about past perfect. So let's listen and check. We're gonna listen only once. In case that you consider, guys, that you need to listen twice, let me know. Just in case. Okay?
Unit 6, Recording 1.
When Tamara Rabi met Adriana Scott at a local McDonald's restaurant, their lives changed forever. I didn't know what to say except hi. I was just so shocked. It was like seeing myself, says Adriana. They were both students at neighboring universities in Long Island, New York, and they had grown up only 30 kilometers apart. They shared a birthday, they were exactly the same height, and both loved hip-hop. But the most important thing they shared was the same Mexican mother. Both girls grew up knowing that their mother had given them up for adoption when they were born, but they had no idea that they had an identical twin. Then Justin Latore, a friend of Adriana's, went to Tamara's 20th birthday party. When he walked in and saw Tamara, he couldn't believe his eyes. I was just shocked. She looked so much like Adriana, says Justin. Then it got clearer. They had to be sisters. In fact, Tamara had already noticed that strangers on her university campus often smiled and said hello, clearly mistaking her for someone else. Following the birthday, Justin put the two girls in touch and they arranged the McDonald's meeting by email. As she came towards me, she was walking like me, talking like me, says Tamara. We have the same mannerisms, the same interests, and got the same grades at school, adds Adriana. The girls even discovered that as children, they had often had the same nightmare of a really loud noise followed by a very quiet one. They had another sad factor in common. Both of their adoptive fathers had died a few years before they met. Now the twins are finishing their studies, and they meet often. I feel she's my sister, but our relationship right now is more like friends, says Tamara. She's optimistic and excited that their futures will be together. We will always have each other. We don't have any other brothers and sisters. We'll grow old together.
Okay. Did you get all the information or maybe you need to listen again? You decide, guys.
Listen
Again,
again.
please.
Listen
Yes.
again, teacher.
Okay, perfect, no problem. Move it a little bit.
Unit 6, Recording 1.
When Tamara Rabi met Adriana Scott at a local McDonald's restaurant, their lives changed forever. I didn't know what to say except hi. I was just so shocked. It was like seeing myself, says Adriana. They were both students at neighboring universities in Long Island, New York, and they had grown up only 30 kilometers apart. They shared a birthday, they were exactly the same height, and both loved hip-hop. But the most important thing they shared was the same Mexican mother. Both girls grew up knowing that their mother had given them up for adoption when they were born, but they had no idea that they had an identical twin. Then Justin Latore, a friend of Adriana's, went to Tamara's 20th birthday party. When he walked in and saw Tamara, he couldn't believe his eyes. I was just shocked. She looked so much like Adriana, says Justin. Then it got clearer. They had to be sisters. In fact, Tamara had already noticed that strangers on her university campus often smiled and said hello, clearly mistaking her for someone else. Following the birthday, Justin put the two girls in touch and they arranged the McDonald's meeting by email. As she came towards me, she was walking like me, talking like me, says Tamara. We have the same mannerisms, the same interests, and got the same grades at school, adds Adriana. The girls even discovered that as children, they had often had the same nightmare of a really loud noise followed by a very quiet one. They had another sad factor in common. Both of their adoptive fathers had died a few years before they met. Now the twins are finishing their studies, and they meet often. I feel she's my sister, but our relationship right now is more like friends, says Tamara. She's optimistic and excited that their futures will be together. We will always have each other. We don't have any other brothers and sisters. We'll grow old together.
Okay. Just like to confirm, of course, the expressions, not the expression, the extra information that we had in here. Let's see which ones you placed in which part. Andres Correa, what about in number 1?
Okay, teacher, I'm gonna try to say, but I think it was a little tricky. But okay, the first one I think is, and they had grow up at 30 kilometers.
Very good. Yes, Andres, that was the first one, so we can eliminate it now. Very good. Let's have a look at number 2. William, which one did you include for that one?
Okay, teacher. Number 2, I think, is their mother had given them up for adoption when they were born.
Very good.
Number D.
Only number 2. Thank you, William. Excellent. Let's have a look at number 3. I would like to ask Elkin. Elkin?
Teacher, yes. Number 3, in fact, Tamara had already noticed that the strangers on her university campus often smile and say hello.
Very good. Give me a second. Brian is waiting in the sala de espera. Let's have a look at number 4. Lisette.
Okay, in number 4, I have, they had often had the same nightmare.
And that means that we already know what number 5 is. Excellent. Very good, guys. Well, the idea of the text or the activity in particular was quite long, like you analyzing the text as a group. You had already discussed different reading strategies, of course, with Laura Juliana. And in this case, not only to answer questions, but also to place these statements in the correct part of the text. Guys, to wrap up this, let's say, story and activity in particular, I would like to ask you, let's say 2 questions. The first question would be, why do you think the article is called A Twist of Faith? Remember that at the beginning, before we actually read the article, I was asking you, what is the meaning of this expression in particular? And we already clarified that at the beginning. So when you go to a link, just like to refresh your memory, you are going to see, let me share the whole screen with you. This is a box, right? The idea that from your opinion, your perspective, you answer this question that we have in here. Why do you think the article is called A Twist of Faith? In this case in particular, I'm not asking you to use any grammatical structure yet. Just like from your opinion, your perspective, why the title for the story, okay? Just like an idea that summarizes this question that I'm asking you, okay? Any questions about this question, guys?
Yes. Answers. Sorry. Question. No.
Okay. Questions? No. That is like the idea.
The answer is a short test, right, teacher?
Yeah, the idea that the answer is a short test and it's like your opinion. It is not like you write something from the article. It's like, okay, we already read the article. We already answered the questions. Now, from your perspective, now from your point of view, why you guys think that the name of the article was A Twist of Fate? Yeah, but a short idea. Anyway, I want to give you 3 minutes just in case, and then we check.
We have to put the name. Oh.
No, it's not necessary. In this case, we can keep it anonymous. Mhm. Okay, anyway, we can start having a look at your answers while the other answers arrive. Let's see, why do you think the article is called A Twist of Fate? Because they never thought they had a sister. Very good, because it was something they did not expect at their age. Nice summary. I think the title is due to the fact that the girls were separated at birth, but after several years they met again, although apparently in a very casual way. Because this wasn't an unexpected situation, they didn't imagine having a twin sister. This event changed, maybe in past, their lives forever. Absolutely. Oh, this event changes in case that we see it like, anyway, like a present situation that still has an impact in their lives. Because they never had thought having a twin and that she lived in the same place. I think it's going to stay because they always live very close without knowing about each other until one day they realized that they had always been living close to each other. Because from one moment to the next, they found their sister, they were alone, and now they have a family. Nice. It's called A Twist of Fate because their lives have changed their lives. In this case, then we make it plural. Have changed since since they met. And for me, it's like a wordplay, twist of fate, twins of fate. Okay, actually, yes, that is a good way of seeing it. Because their lives, okay, similar. So guys, remember, I'm gonna send it to the chat. Life would be singular and then lives would be plural. In this case, or usually when a noun in the singular form goes with F, then the plural goes with V. Were predestinated to be together again. Regardless time or distance, they were going to meet at any moment. That was from Jean-Claude, okay? Because they knew to had a sister, but they had never met and unless they lived nearby. Because they knew to had a sister. No, I don't get it. Maybe because they knew they had a sister, but they had never met unless they live nearby. Y le quitamos este and. ¿Listo? 11, because they discovered that they are twins after many years. Number 12, I think that it is about a big change of the people's lives when they least expect it. Okay, kind of general, but that is what a twist of fate means. Article is called a twist of fate because it is not usual for two people to experience a situation that changes their lives in an impressive way. But at the end, is the collocation. It was a good one for them. Very good. And maybe it sounds like a silly thing, but capital letters, don't forget that part. I went back, sorry. Very good. Guys, final question. Do you think the story is happy or sad? Choose just one of them. And then we finish with this part of the story. Of course, we still have something else to check. Let's see, the story is happy or the story is sad? How many of you are at this moment? Okay. 9 answers. Let's see a couple of seconds. I'll leave the same people that answered the first one. Okay. The majority of you guys consider that the story in general aspects is happy. One of you considers that it is sad. Of course, there are different events happening in their lives, both positive or negative, but at the end of the day, you have like your perception about the story. Guys, thank you very much for sharing your questions, your answers actually in these two questions that I was asking you. Well, guys, I was telling you that officially we begin this unit with one of the, let's say, of the most common grammatical components. You may be thinking, past perfect is not common, but I'm talking about when we are telling stories. I was telling you at the beginning of the session that maybe you remember from previous cycles, one topic that is called narrative tenses. And the idea of them is actually to use different tenses to tell a story. And past perfect belongs to that group of narrative tenses. Actually, it's one of the most common after past simple. Well, on this first slide, the idea is to present how we make the statements. Probably looks a little bit obvious, but it is better to refresh our memory. As you already know, we have affirmative, negative, and question statements. Something that we can see in common in all the three categories is that in all of them, we have to use the auxiliary. In this case, we're using had, okay? If the statement is negative, we use hadn't. And if it is a question, of course, we keep on using had. One aspect that all the, let's say the perfect times have is the use of the verbs in past participle. And I hope that we can refresh our memory a little bit. So that is the first idea, how we make the statement, like the typical grammatical combination. What about the different uses that past perfect has? One of them is talking about that link that it, let's say, provides from one time in the past to another time further in the past. Look at this statement. It says, when we got there, everybody had left. And look at this line that we have in here. We have the present, we have the future, and notice that our intention or what we want to do is to focus on the past. So first of all, we have when we got there. In this case, that would be the beginning of the statement. But what happened first? That everyone left. So this action happened first before we got to the place. In this case, like before arriving to any place. Let's have a look at more examples so we can see the dynamic of the statements. The idea, of course, is to give us extra information about a main event. The idea of present perfect is, that somehow you have already discovered, to show the order of two past events. Notice in this case, we can say when the police arrived, the thief had escaped. So, what happened first? That the thief escaped. Then what was the second activity or the second action happening? The police arrived. So notice that the action or the statement in past perfect goes first, and then the activity, let's call it like that, in past simple goes second, because past perfect goes really, really behind past simple. Now, in this type of statements, we can combine them, you know, the order doesn't have any impact, similar to what we have already studied with first conditional, you may remember. I can say the thief had escaped when the police arrived. And notice that on these two examples, we can actually see the sequence of events more clearly. Like this action happened first, and then this action happened second. And probably we prefer this in particular. The thing is that in some cases, we may find examples like this, starting with the second action and then finishing with the action that happened first. The intention is that we feel, let's say, familiar, you know, to this type of transformations. Let's put it like that. It is not an obligation to use past perfect all the time to give, let's say, extra information about past simple. Especially when we're talking about something that happened long time ago. For example, the Romans spoke Latin. I mean, it is like really, really long time ago when this action happened. So I don't need to put past perfect on this part, okay? And basically the idea of past perfect, we can use some, let's say, words of time, like the case of before. And of course, the idea of before will be telling us that an action was incomplete before the action in past actually took place. Once again, they left before I had spoken to them. So what happens first? That they left. And the second action was for me trying to speak to someone else. The idea of past perfect basically is to give extra information about the past. Let me go back. We can, of course, say statements only in past perfect. Había ido, blah, 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 blah. But usually their intention is to enrich an event in past simple, okay? Well, guys, I'm sure that we're just refreshing our memory. I remember this is from cycle 8.2.4, the narrative tenses. But anyway, do you have any questions, something that you want to refresh, guys?
Slide 5, the next slide. I don't understand the explanation.
Could you repeat?
Yes, in the slide 5. I
Yes.
don't understand this explanation.
We can use also before when we are combining the statements. So when we use before, that means that this action, the first action, was not finished, or we can say that the action was incomplete. So when the activity already happened, it somehow makes like, or is telling us that the chronologically, let's say, aspects of the events was not complete. What happened first? That they left, right? In this case, before I spoke to them. So this action happened first.
Okay.
Like, let's imagine that we are on an event and you were supposed to speak with your friends and they left the party. So first they left the party, although you wanted to speak with them. So the idea of including before makes reference that the action was not finished. But it is not like we have to use before all the time. It is like, if we use before, that means that the action in this case is going to be incomplete. Well, we'll continue practicing this tense, of course. I want to take a kind of a step back, you know, guys, because this structure is requiring us to refresh our memory about the verbs in past participle. So before we go to practice like past perfect with the whole intention of combining tenses and stuff, as I was telling you, let's take a step back and let's refresh our memory with the verbs in past participle. Julian, yes, tell us.
I didn't understand too much this case before the slide.
The previous slide?
Yes, previous. We can also use before past to show that an action was not done, was complete when past simple action happened. I didn't understand too much.
A ver.
Can you explain me again?
Like the example that I was asked, or I don't remember the person that was asking previous. Like, let's put in more context. Let's imagine that we are on a meeting and you want to talk to some people, right? And then you notice that the people already left the party. They are not in the place anymore, right? So when you are telling the story, when you are telling like the situation to another person, you said that they left, like they are not in that place anymore before speaking to them. Like, although you wanted to do this activity was incomplete because this activity happened first. They, let's say, abandoned the place and you didn't have the opportunity to talk to them. That is like the idea when we use before. As I was telling you, it is not an obligation to use before when we're talking about past perfect, but if we use past perfect, that means that the action in past simple is incomplete. So the action in past perfect didn't take place. That is like the whole idea. Well, I guess that it is a little bit confusing, so we have to translate it a little bit. How do we get the idea of these statements in Spanish?
Ellos se fueron antes de que terminara de hablar, algo así, ¿no?
Terminara de hablar.
Antes de que hablara.
Yo lo que entiendo
Antes
es
de
que
haber
ellos se
hablado
fueron
con ellos.
Ellos se
antes
fueron
de que
antes.
hablaran.
Antes de haber hablado con ellos.
Y
Porque
hubiera
ese es el
hablado
paso.
con ellos.
Hubiera hablado, antes de haber hablado con ellos. Bueno, es que con las preposiciones en español nos cambia un poquito. Entonces, si usamos
Pero
before.
a ver es como, perdón, teacher, a ver es como I have spoken en present perfect y hubiera es
No,
como.
no porque a ver,
¿No?
el presente perfecto sería yo he hablado. Bueno, que el español no sea el que nos confunda acá aún más, tal vez. Entonces la idea del before es esa, que si se llega a usar, hace referencia a que la segunda acción está incompleta. La primera ocurrió, pero la segunda quedó incompleta. Entonces, ellos se fueron antes de yo haber hablado con ellos. Esa es la idea de usar before con pasado perfecto. Que si lo uso, esa acción, la de pasado perfecto, no se pudo llevar a cabo. Eso es como lo que se quiere decir acá. Another example using before. What could be? For example, I'm gonna say an example. You may be thinking that I'm considering like only party examples in my mind. Like they arrived before the party had started. Entonces, ¿qué pasó? Que ellos llegaron primero antes de que la fiesta arrancara. Entonces, la acción, la segunda oración está incompleta, porque ¿a qué hago referencia? Que el evento, la fiesta, no había iniciado cuando ellos ya habían llegado al lugar. Entonces, ese es como el contraste que se quiere hacer si usamos before en pasado perfecto, que la segunda acción marca como incompleta. Esa es la idea. But once again, guys, it is not like an obligation to use before when we're talking about past perfect. It's just in case, if we use it, that is going to be the general idea that is being presented. It is better, guys?
Yeah, teacher.
Okay. Yeah, this type of tenses tend to be a little bit tricky because let me go back here to the line time. We're talking about like the past of the past. So we try to think, okay, how can I make it the past even more like behind, you know? But that is usually the intention, trying to see how we can connect those events. And at the end of the day, the idea is to include this type of tenses a little bit more. We can say whatever we want in past, using only past simple, and we can communicate and we can convey meaning without any problem. But the idea is to make it a little bit more dynamic. And well, it may look complicated at first, but then after practicing as much as possible, you will see that actually it is easier than we think. Well, guys, as I was telling you, let's take this mini step back. It is a really fast Kahoot, the one that we're going to play. As I was telling you, the idea is to refresh our memory with the verbs in past participle, because actually in this unit 6 in particular, we will be using the verbs in past participle a lot, okay? So we need to refresh our memory a little bit. So guys, I sent you the link to the chat that invite you to take part of it. I think where I was going to do. There are 9 out of almost 18, if I'm not mistaken. Well, one person left the session like at 9, but that's a different story. So we have 15 so far. Julian, Brian, Silvia, Andres, Jean-Claude, Jeanette, Gerson, Carlos,
Your teacher.
Natalia, Mabeline, Johan, Lisette, Keiner, William, and Cindy. Yes, sorry.
Can you send me again the link?
Sure.
Okay, so thank you,
There
teacher.
you go. Well, I guess that's it, right? It's a very short one and it's a really fast one. As you can imagine, of course, it is to identify the verbs in past participle. Let's see. Fast, fast, fast. Yeah, it is only 5 seconds. So notice that we have the base form, the past simple, and the past participle. Excellent, guys. Let's see who's the fastest, because I know that this is way too easy for you. Excellent. The past participle goes with you. Very good. We can. That's simple. Lisette. Silvia, sorry. Excellent. Very good. Let's see any changes. Oh my God, notice that everybody answered correctly, but it is just about being fast. That's it. What about catch? Catch is irregular. Excellent. Changes, changes. Careful with your hand. Very good. Cost. It's a different type of irregular, right? That it doesn't change in any of these 3 times. Gerson appeared. Okay. Excellent. The same happens with cut. Very good, Kainer. Excellent. Oh my God. It is fallen. Notice that we are not talking about feel. The past of feel is felt, but this is fall, caer. And the past participle is fallen. Okay. Last question. Well, let's call it question. It is flown. Very good. Let's see if it changed a little bit. As I was telling you guys, it's just like to refresh our memory. Of course, it was easy for you. Mavely, excellent. Very good. Kainer as well. Very good. Lisette, the absolute winner, the runners-up, William and EDFC. Let's see. Let me turn the sound off. Yeah, guys, so notice how easy they think of the verbs in past participle. In some cases, we already know that they change a little bit. In other cases, they don't change that much. Well, guys, before we go, I know that we don't have much time, but just like to avoid leaving the session without practicing, or you know what? Do you have homework from Laura Juliana?
No, teacher.
No, teacher.
So I know that you are really busy, guys, so I'm gonna ask you, please, to have this slide as homework, okay? The statement, the instruction, sorry, says, complete each sentence using the past perfect form of the verbs in parentheses. So once again, notice that the idea is that we are combining two tenses. We're talking about past simple, and we're using past perfect to enrich the story or to give extra information. You know, that's the idea. Notice that in all the statements, we have the corresponding verb. Be, love, realize, plan, and study. The idea is to transform it into past perfect. And then when it is in past perfect, we can see the development of the events. It's a pretty simple task, but it is like the first practice, let's put it like that, of this tense that we will be using a lot, okay? So it is going to be a mini homework for you. I'm sure it won't take more than 10 minutes from your day tomorrow, I promise. Do you have any questions about the homework, guys?
No,
Teacher,
teacher.
do you send the mail or take the picture of this slide?
Yeah, why don't you take the screenshot, guys?
Okay.
Yeah, maybe you can share it in your WhatsApp group. So when we finish the session, then the image it doesn't get like lost. Yeah, good question, actually. I heard also another voice.
Teacher, and send of your mail?
No, we check it in class.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be like the first thing we do tomorrow, like to refresh our memory about this and to check the statements.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you. Yeah, that's also another important question. Okay, guys. That would be the mini homework. I'm sure that no more than 10 minutes. Probably you have already noticed some transformations already, but that would be it. Well, guys, as usual, thank you very much. Of course, we will continue working. Remember, guys, that on Friday, we will talk about how we're going to organize the speaking exam. Although it is after Holy Week, the idea is that we organize that information as soon as possible, okay? Guys, have a good evening. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.